I had to do a lot of push-ups, and I was yelled at a lot.
They made you do push-ups for your
Oh,
art?
yes. Yes.
What?
Yes, they did.
I almost feel like you're fucking with me. This
No,
is
I'm
so
not.
crazy.
I'm not with you. It was like they I had a book by Caravaggio, and like, this is fine art. This is not what we do.
Do you think that was so traumatic that that's why you don't make art? Maybe.
Maybe, yeah, because I don't have the kind of
Welcome to What's My Thesis. I'm your host, Javier Proenza, and today my guest is Mario Vasquez, legendary art. Well, you're curating too.
I'm a curator and an art writer.
You're an art writer.
Yeah, I do an art critic. Yeah.
Nice. Where do you write?
I freelance, so
Like, where have you gotten to write?
I've artillery, mostly art and cake, and then a couple of online journals. So yeah.
That's cool. I did not realize that, but I see you. Like, you're one of the people that I see most often when I go out to see art.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
pretty diligent, and you have the Mario's Art World.
Mario's Art World. Yeah, that's my Instagram feed.
And then, how many times a week do you get out to, like?
I go practically every weekend.
Every weekend?
Yeah, practically every weekend. A lot of times it's Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and occasionally if there's I'll go to a museum once in a while, and I'll post museum shows that I go to like any day, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
Do you ever get burnt out and like just stop going entirely? Because that's my perception is that you don't.
No, and it's so funny. Because I was cleaning out some stuff from my room, and I realized I've been going for almost 20 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Doing
Going to gallery openings and going to, and it I'll tell you, it's definitely changed.
Yeah.
Immensely for the last 20 years. But
in what ways?
First of all, the galleries back when I started were much more concentrated in their locations. Like for example, most of the galleries were either in Chinatown.
Can you pull this closer? To you?
Sure. Here we go.
Yeah, pull it closer to you so
There we go.
It sits
Yeah,
comfortably.
a lot of times they were in Chinatown.
Uh-huh.
Chinatown was a big hub when I started, and then
So that was 20 years ago?
that was 20 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And then Bergamot Station, Santa Monica.
Yeah.
So
I remember those were the spots.
Yeah, those were definitely the spots. So those two hubs were the places to go, and so I would go to I would be on a mailing list by like a Yahoo one of these Yahoo listservs.
Mm-hmm.
And I would get a list of the gallery openings that were happening that particular weekend or that particular week. And it was run by Megan Geckler.
Okay.
So she would run the listserv, and I would get an email every single week of all the listings and everything. Plus LA Weekly on top of that, the old LA Weekly. So I would have a pretty good sense of what was happening over the weekend.
So now you have to like do more stops, different, hit one spot, hit one, like it's more.
Yes, and not only that, I can't go to everything now.
Yeah,
it's
that's rough.
It is impossible now because so much is happening. It's not unusual now to have 20, 30 openings in one weekend. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So I actually have to kind of plan things out like strategically on where I'm gonna go. So I use apps. There's two principal apps that I use. I use Curator LA and Seesaw.
Okay.
And I use both those apps. And Seesaw, the nice thing about Seesaw is that it'll give you a map of all the openings that are happening. So I'm like, okay, well, today I think I'm gonna hit mostly downtown, so I'll do downtown openings.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, if it's a show I really want to see, but I'm not gonna be able to go, I'll go to the gallery early, like before the opening, check it out and everything, enjoy the work, and then go to my schedule, my agenda for that particular day, for mostly Saturdays.
Saturdays.
Yeah.
So then Sundays is a day of rest for you.
Yes, Sundays are a nice day of rest. I mean, I'll go get brunch. I'll go to like a Skylight Books, or I'll go to like a Book Soup, or I'll go, I'll do something like that. Maybe, maybe do a little bit of some errands here and there and stuff. And, yeah.
Are you an avid reader? Like what kind of stuff are you reading?
Well, I read a lot of art, but I've been reading a lot of fiction lately. And a couple years ago, I made a resolution that I was going to start reading fiction. So I'm in a book club that meets the last Tuesday of every month at Skylight Books. It's called
cool.
They're called the Coyotes, and they choose a book every month, and so that was the nice thing for me to fulfill my New Year's resolution.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
Yeah.
Especially like when you read something and it can be very frustrating to have no one to share it with.
Yes, exactly.
I just read this amazing book, and you sound maybe like a crazy person because you're like, it's so disjointed when you retell the book.
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
Or even books that you don't like.
Yeah.
I mean, not every book that they choose is something that I like, that I would normally read, but it kind of forces me to look at something new and something different and explore, sort of a new genre of books and stuff. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So then, okay, let's get back in, because obviously you live a very specific life where you are devoted to art, but you're not an art maker, right?
No.
Okay,
no.
so then let's go way back.
Okay.
Time machine. Where'd you grow up? Were you born in the U.S.?
Yeah, I was born in the U.S. I grew up in Chino.
In Chino. Okay, so you are an Angelino, or like Greater Los Angeles area.
Yeah. When I was growing up, it was kind of funny because where I lived was considered to be in the sticks. I mean, we were small town. Whenever someone's, I said I'm from Chino, they would go, "Ooh," because of the cows. There were so many dairies out there. And my dad was a truck driver. He was a hay hauler, so he would buck hay and make a very good living. And he would go, to all the dairies either around Chino or in Imperial Valley, or sometimes during the summer he would go out to Northern California and haul grapes. But most of the time he would be bucking hay. And that was his job.
Bucking hay is just collecting it and selling it, or
basically he would be stacking the hay on his truck, and then delivering it from where they would distribute the hay to the various dairies that make the orders and everything.
Okay, so that's the bucking that's the verb of that. Like,
it's called hay bucking. Yes,
I love that.
Yes, it was hay bucking.
That's so niche.
Yes,
it's very specialized.
Yes.
Okay, and then all right, and then when did you start? Because I mean, you're saying you said you're doing this for 20 years.
Yeah,
that's
I look a lot. I'm a lot older than I look.
Okay.
But
then when did you start getting curious about art? Like, what did you study to be a curator, or no?
No. Here what happened was, I graduated from high school, and then I went to Mount San Antonio College, Mount SAC, for my first year. I only was there 1 year, and then I transferred to UC Riverside. But I was working to transfer out of Mount SAC, and I went to my college counselor, and she had a list of the classes that I had to take in order for me to transfer, and she said, you should take art history. I'm like, what? I'm like, art history? Oh yeah, all you do is just look at pictures all day, and it's really easy, and I think you'll like it. And so that is what started everything. That one moment when I decided to take an art history course as part of my prerequisites for me to transfer to UC Riverside was that moment. Otherwise, if I decided, no, you know what, I would I'll do something else. Who knows what I would have ended up doing or anything. But even before that, even in high school, I had kind of a passing interest in art. My mom would take me to the LA County Museum of Art, and we would go and we would see what's now, it's no longer there anymore, the Amundsen Pavilion. and and see the contemporary and the modern art collection. I remember going and seeing there was this exhibition called by Ludwig Meidner, who was a German expressionist who painted all these apocalyptic landscapes. And so I had and then also, I remember going on the bus one time because we were going to some kind of retreat in high school, and I found a brochure from someone who had gone to like a field trip to the LA County Museum of Art, and it was for the exhibition called the spiritual and abstract art. And I'm like, whoa, this is really cool. Look, it's these artists, and it was Kandinsky and Sursu and Surser and Jackson Pollock and Rothko, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. It's really cool. And while I was in high school, I was in drama, but also I was in kind of the literary circles as well too. I contributed to the literary journal. I was a poet, so I was kind of in the arts.
Yeah.
Scene.
I mean, yeah. You just hadn't found how much you enjoyed like painting and
the visual arts yet and stuff.
Yeah.
It was I was much more into reading Chekhov and Dostoevsky and Russian short stories and poetry, and so that was my big thing. And my friends and I would all go to this coffee place in Old Town Pasadena called the E-Bar, and it was in an alley. You would go down an alley. You wouldn't be able to see it. Maybe you'd be able to hear it, but you wouldn't be able to see it. You would go down the alley, you would make a right turn, and all of a sudden there was this coffee place, and there was a bookstore right next door, and it was a really cool place. So that's where we would hang out and stuff.
That was in high school?
This was in high school.
Oh, cool.
This was in high school, yeah. So that was my high school, arts. I was into the arts, but I wasn't into the visual arts yet until I took that art history class my first year at Mount San Antonio.
What was the range for that art history?
It was Renaissance to modern.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we didn't cover the medieval, but we covered the Renaissance to the modern, and it was the teacher was a very flamboyant guy. He was like imagine if Liberace had taught art history.
Okay, that's very easy to imagine.
Very like, oh my god, you know, and he would look at the Baroques like, oh God, how could you like this? This isn't wedding cake turned inside out.
The Brooks,
the Rococo,
the Rococo,
the Rococo. Yeah. He's like,
the
Baroque was brilliant, and then you got to the Rococo, and it was like a wedding cake turned inside out. Oh God! And then he would.
So what was the thing that first hit you? Like what was the movement that really got you?
It was probably the Baroque.
The Baroque.
The Caravaggio was the big my first favorite artist. Also, I also like Mantegna and Antonio Mantegna. So I like the Venetian Renaissance, but I really got into the Caravaggio and the Caravaggists.
So where was he based out of? What city-state was he in?
I think he was born in, I want to say Milan, and then he went to Rome.
Okay.
And then he was in Rome for a while, and then he got in trouble. He got in a fight over a tennis match, and he knifed someone. He killed him. Yeah. Caravaggio was a gangster, and he was known to kind of hang out with the pretty boys. So, it's kind of like code for he was probably gay.
Yeah.
But he got in a fight. He had a temper, and he got in a fight with this over a tennis match and everything, stabbed someone. He had to flee Rome, and then he went down to Naples, and he went down to Sicily.
Oh, so he went like real gangster.
Yeah. He fled. He was on the run for a while. He was on the run. And
Naples and Sicily, I mean, like those are like they speak their own languages.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he had some connections with the like the mafioso or something
Well,
like that.
I mean, the Medici were 100% a mafia family.
Oh yes, yeah.
and
You
the
did not.
Borgia, yeah.
You did not cross any of those families at all.
Yeah.
You know, you just gotta be.
Well, that's why I was confused. Like, because I know the name Caravaggio, but I was in Florence for a while, and I just didn't remember. What do you know? Okay, so then Caravaggio.
Yeah.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
What is like now as you are, we can also obviously hit other highlights for you on the way, but I kind of want to get a sense of like, do you like, is there a curatorial philosophy? Like, what are you interested when you put you have like, let's plug the show.
Yes.
You have a show at Mission
LA Mission College.
LA Mission College.
Yes. That's opening on September 12th.
Okay, yeah.
The
So
opening-
this Tuesday, because this is coming out the Sunday before.
Yes.
So I mean, we're recording it like
Yes. So
there's
this
no other day.
Tuesday is the opening for the show that I'm curating called Strange Reality.
Okay.
And it's the opening is from 5 to 9 o'clock.
Okay.
So the nice thing, and it's a Tuesday night, which and it's in Sylmar. The LA Mission College is in Sylmar. It's near the corner of Eldridge and Hubbard. So if you're coming from Pasadena or Glendale, take the 210 freeway. You get off on Hubbard, make a right on Hubbard. You'll see Eldridge.
We can skip the directions.
Okay, but the way the I don't necessarily have a curatorial philosophy. Maybe it's something like, well, I like to kind of challenge myself and kind of when I think of shows to do, I can either construct a narrative theme, or I can get artists together, like a whole list of artists, and kind of weave something, a narrative or something from there. This one was kind of a hybrid of both. I had a theme based on the 1995 movie called Strange Days with Ray.
Oh my God!
Yes.
Yeah. I remember when that movie came out.
Yeah, that movie was. Directed by Catherine Bigelow, written by James Cameron.
That's Catherine Bigelow's the Point Break lady.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
She's the director, and
then she did
the Hurt Locker.
Hurt Locker,
she won the Academy Award for. So
and that was like she was the first woman to win an Academy Award.
Yeah,
for directing,
for directing. Yeah. So this was a movie that she directed with Ray Fiennes, Angela Bassett, Juliette Lewis, Tom Sizemore.
Yeah.
And it was a L.A. noir speculative fiction movie about. It came out in 1995, and they were imagining what New Year's Eve 1999 would be like in L.A. And there was a technology called SQUID, superconducting quantum interference device, which was basically it. I know, this,
dude. I know the movie.
I know the movie like the back of my hand. This is, and I was watching it a couple months ago, and this was like, oh, this would be a great theme for a group show, because a lot of the stuff that was speculated then has actually come true.
So like what? Because the main thing in the movie, the main conceit is that there's this technology where you can record memories.
Yes.
And then there's like a really fun scene in it where a guy is like, I think it's even the first scene where a guy's like touching himself, like wearing the thing, and then it turns out that he's like experiencing a woman having an orgasm.
Yes.
Like
it's not so much that yet. I would say maybe,
but there is some of that, like it's heading that way. You think?
I think so. I think it's possible that we may have some kind of way of connecting with some kind. I mean, we already have VR.
Yeah.
And so all that needs to be done with VR is connect to the brain waves and everything. And before you know it, you're not only fighting, let's say, your competitor, but you're also feeling the punches as well too. So I don't think we're too far from that.
But I mean, I do think that there's been stuff with like brains where you can. I don't know. I can't cite it, but I do think that there's also been stuff like with memory recording or dream recording or something like that. I don't remember that. Did you also watch Until the End of the World, the William Hurt movie, which is sort of related, which is people recording their dreams?
No, I've not seen that.
Oh, okay. It's pretty cool too. I recommend. But anyway, back to Strange Days.
Strange Days, yes. So, as far as the racial conflict, or as far as the, what happened in 2020, the breakdown of society, a lot of the stuff that was being portrayed in 1995, speculated in 19 is now 2020, 2021, 2022. So I was like, a lot of this, has come to fruition. I'd like to do maybe a group show that kind of explores this idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I was getting the artists together, and there were artists that I wanted to get that didn't quite match the theme, and I was like, okay, let's get these artists together, and instead of Strange Days, Strange Reality might be a good idea,
Mm-hmm.
because the idea of reality is now much more questioned now than it has been ever in the past. And artists have always questioned reality. The first group show I ever curated was called Seance.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that was the idea that artists like to reveal what is hidden, what is there, and what may be invisible. And I explore the idea of the uncanny, which is something that Mike Kelly, the late artist, explored heavily in his work.
Uncanny Valley, or just uncanny?
The uncanny, which is
just like strange.
Yeah, strange. Something where that is familiar, but it's not.
Okay.
So I was like, instead of Strange Days, let's do Strange Reality. So that's how the idea of the group show came about. And so I got together, 12 artists.
We've interviewed one of them, or I have interviewed one of them, Emily Silver.
Yes, Emily Silver is one of the artists that's going to be in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Casey Kaufman is one in the show. John Polipchik, Jim Shaw. John is he actually found a group some drawings from the Royal Art Lodge that have not been seen in over 20 years.
What's the Royal Art Lodge?
Okay, the Royal Art Lodge was a group of friends in the 1990s and early 2000s. They were a collective. And what they would do on Fridays and Saturday nights is one person would start a drawing, and then they would pass it over to the next person, and they would do the drawing, and then they would go. It was kind of like an exquisite cadaver.
Yeah.
Except they would each contribute to the drawing itself, and they would call themselves the Royal Art Lodge. It was a club, collective. John Polipchik was in it. Marcel Zama was in it. So, and they were based in Winnipeg, Canada. And in 2003, I think it was, they had a show at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Los Angeles. And
2003.
2003.
So like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
literally.
20 years ago.
Like when you started.
When I started, yes. And so this work has not been shown since. And so he found these drawings, and so we're gonna have the Royal Art Lodge as part of the show.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
So then, what draws you? Like, what the pieces that didn't quite fit in, that you really wanted to include? What were they about, and what did they contribute that maybe this is too hard to explain?
It really is,
because you had like a basic premise, and then you were like, I want to include this. Maybe the process of like being flexible is something I want to explore.
And that's one of the reasons why I changed the theme with Strange Reality, because it's such a broad theme.
Yeah.
A lot of different art, and a lot of art can fit in that theme. So that's why I changed it from Strange Days to Strange Reality, because because artists have always questioned reality, especially the 20th century. 20th century, actually beginning in the 19th century into the 20th, and now the 21st century. So I almost have three centuries of reality reconfigured by the artists.
Do you have any historical examples of that reconfiguration of reality?
Well, I can think of like Picasso.
Okay.
If one can look at an object but can only see one side of that object, right?
Mm-hmm.
Picasso said, you know what? Let's see all sides all at once.
Yeah.
So right there, you may see one side, but now you see multiple sides or multiple perspectives all in one canvas, one flat canvas. So he basically said reality is not just one perspective, is multiple perspectives being seen in one view, one painting, one work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. What do you like to write about when you write? If you like, and actually also, how do you pitch articles? Like, do you go to people and you're like, hey, this is the premise, or do you write the whole thing and then submit it?
What I like about writing about exhibitions is that first of all, I will randomly choose something. It's not something I have any kind of preconceived notion or idea before I go in. So I walk into a gallery and right there I'm like, I want to write about this because it's something that I like a lot. And so based on that, then I will go to the editor and says, I want to write about this. Here's what I think about the show. This is what the show's about. It's at this gallery. It's up until the state, and that's basically how I pitch it. And they either say yay or nay. A lot of times they say yay, but occasionally they'll say no. And, it's not something that we want to do. And then sometimes I'll just put it on my blog. I'll just write on my
scheming. I'm such a dishonest actor. I was like immediately like, oh, okay, so I can maybe try to get this guy to write something for my show. Like immediately I was like, oh, that's how that works. So no, I mean that's interesting because I know that you hear people. I really do not know very much about the whole press scene, but it seems comforting to know that you're not like being assigned things that you don't want to write about. You basically you jump in because that's the freelance side of it.
Yeah, that's the freelance. That's what I like about being freelance is that I have that freedom to choose the exhibits and the shows that I want to go to.
Do you write only about exhibits, or do you write like broader things about art history?
Occasionally, I'll write something about the art world and about art itself, about career advice, or like about certain ideas that are sort of permeating. Like I did write something about curating, but the idea of curating, because that word is now abused so much. I mean, I've seen fashion, fashion designer says, I curated this.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you didn't really curate it, did you? I mean, or like cooks and chefs saying, I curated this meal or something like that. It's such an abused term that's out of the art world and everything that I kind of like to keep it in the art world, but it's everywhere. So
So what do you think, like what would be the parameters for curation for you? Just exclusively art related?
Yeah, that's basically what I do as far as I curate art. I curate art shows and exhibitions. So would like making a playlist be curation? No. Now I'm that is an example
of something that you hate. Yeah.
That just makes me cringe.
Yeah.
It's like you're choosing your choices and everything like that.
I'm so delighted we got to your pet peeves. This is awesome.
But did you really curate it? I mean, is there like a theme? Is there some thought in it? Or it's just something that you like?
Yeah.
And that is a lot of times it's just something that you like.
That used to be called making a mixtape.
Yeah, exactly. A mixtape. It's just a mixtape.
No one was ever like, no Gen Xers were ever like, I curated this mixtape for you.
Yes, exactly. No, I just made this mixtape. Here it is. I just did this.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
That is. I think that also comes, like, it's also, there was an era where people were like curators of content.
Yes.
And then like literally we're just stealing.
Yeah, exactly. They're
like
curators. Everything's a curator, or they're curated.
Yeah.
Everything, from like you said, like song lists to dishes to you just name it. Everything is curated, but it's not curated. It's just stuff that you like, and it's just a mixtape. There's no thought that goes into it.
Yeah. I'm also interested in, like, as someone who is burdened by the need to make art, and you're obviously burdened by your obsession. I mean, not in a negative way, but like you don't have a choice, right? Like you I don't think anybody can really question that you, like, it's a problem that you have to,
No. Yeah.
But I find it interesting. Where do you draw the line of, like, I just find the passion and the commitment so fascinating, and that you're not also an art maker. Did you ever try? Did you ever have any interest in it?
Believe it or not, I went to the Army, and I went to the Army Art School.
Oh, so you did study art. So you do make stuff?
No, I don't. And the thing is this: when I back to college, believe it or not, I went to UC Riverside, and I went there for 1 year, and then my parents divorced. I had no money at all to go back to school.
Yeah.
So I enlisted in the Army as an Army reservist, so I can get the GI benefits, and I could pay for my college and pay for my school without having to go to my dad, who was trying to hide money from my mom, and my mom trying to get money from my dad. I mean, it was just a big messy divorce and everything. So I went to the Army, went to boot camp and everything, and my MOS, which stands for Military Occupational Skill, was a 25 Quebec, which is a graphic documentation specialist.
Okay.
And you can only imagine what an Army art school is like. It is just.
I want to be in those crits.
Oh my God, man!
With a drill sergeant. There's
was,
no imagination.
it was just like, if I didn't draw the portrait to what it looked like exactly on the picture and stuff. Let's put it this way: I was much more modern in my art than they wanted me to.
Yeah.
And so, I had to do a lot of push-ups, and I was yelled at a lot.
They made you do push-ups for your art?
Oh, yes.
What?
Yes, they did.
I almost feel like you're fucking with me.
No, I'm not.
So crazy.
I'm not fucking with you. It was like I had a book by Caravaggio, and like, this is fine art. This is not what we do. And they, oh my God, it was.
Wait, so you were supposed to be making signs? Like, was it more graphic design?
Yeah, it was graphic.
Okay.
It was graphic.
Right.
It was graphic design. So I had to do a lot of rendering and a lot of like realistic rendering and everything like that, because and I did a lot of design
and you would give
work.
him a cubist.
Yeah, I would give him more like a German expressionist, kind of
like a Kandinsky,
like all fucked up, and I made the portrait of the officer look a lot more modern that they wanted me to, and everything, and I. They flunked me out the first round, so I had to go back and do it over again. So I did it twice.
How many years was that?
It wasn't so many. Well, the training itself was originally supposed to be 2 months, and ended up be 4 months.
Oh, okay.
Because I failed.
Do you think that was so traumatic that's why you don't make art? Maybe.
Maybe, yeah, because I don't have the kind of I don't have that much confidence in my artistic ability.
Yeah.
If it, and so yeah, and then when I got back and everything, I had this this military occupational skill. And I got back to my unit and everything, and 1 week in a month, and I maybe used it once in the 8 years I was in the service. And so,
but then were you able to study art history in the like while you were in the military?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So this was just the military strain, but then you got to go to college separately
Yeah.
through the GI benefits. Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah. So I graduated in
I know a
1995.
little bit about military stuff, but not
Yeah.
that much. It's like it's always complicated. I doubt that even happens anymore. Can you imagine like people
Yeah.
getting money to go to college at that level?
Yeah.
I don't know. I maybe they do. But
Yeah.
but that's fascinating. So then, I mean, and I also want to be clear that I'm not trying to convince you to become an artist because it is a burden. I think you've got your boundaries set up just right.
You know,
But I find like that it's that passion and it's that same thing that makes me do a podcast and interview people
Yeah.
about art because I want to talk about art. So I really respect it. I see you more than any artist that I know. I see you out. Like I run into you everywhere. You're like nonstop. So I'm really impressed with the like you make me feel lazy sometimes. Not in a bad way.
I was going to say thank you, but I don't want to make you feel lazy. So
No. It was in an aspirational way. I'm like, man, and it's dope that you're like, I mean, you just go out on your own and you know everybody at this point. So you don't even need to go like you're going to see people you like. That wasn't always the case for me. But I've discovered the pleasure of that.
it's nice going and seeing people that I know, and it's both artistically inspiring as well as socially. I love the people that I meet. I like the people that I see everywhere. They're interesting. I love talking to the artists, but also believe it or not, I am a extrovert in training. In other words, I'm someone who's an introvert. I don't mind going by myself, and so I have to literally force myself to talk to people, and I have to kind of like because then I will be like but I seem to be I seem to be doing okay.
No, you're doing great. I mean, that's what impresses me so much is that you never get burnt out because that's what happens to me. I'll go and I'll burn for a couple of months, and then that's it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna like watch movies for a couple weeks.
Yeah,
it is. I'm impressed by the sheer work, and then the fact that you also put out images like of what you like and stuff like, and put that thing together. It's really it's impressive. How often do you post?
I post every weekend when I go.
So you don't post throughout the week. You just post when you go out, and then that's it.
Like normally, when I go out, depending on when I get home, how tired I am, or I'll fall asleep on the couch, and then I'll just go to bed, and then the next morning, then that's when I'll start posting. Like normally on Sundays, I post, or sometimes when I'm busy on a Sunday, then I'll wait till Monday and I'll post on Monday.
And these are your days off.
Yes,
it's a labor of love. It really is. Like this is literally why I wanted to sit you down because I can't ask you all of these questions in the 5 seconds we see each other at a show.
Yeah,
but I'm really impressed with like I like look at you. I feel like that you love what you do. You look like a very content person, especially now that we're talking about the thing that makes you happy. So I love it. Man, art is such a miserable process for me sometimes.
It's a struggle. I understand, and that I also appreciate with artists and stuff. They're doing something that a lot of people in the professional world would kind of scoffs at. When I'm sure if you're a lot of parents when they hear their kid wants to be an artist, they're like, no, oh my God, how are you going to make a living? How are you going to make How are you going to do this? What are you going to do? Blah, but there are ways you can make a living, and the biggest advice I always give artists who are just starting off is this: go where you're loved, and I think that is the most important thing to recall. Is go to remember is go where you're loved, and I didn't even I won't even get credit for that. The one who taught me that was Matt Gleason, who ran Coagula Curatorial. He's an art dealer. He's the one that got me started curating.
That was the first show you got.
That was the first show I did. Was at Coagula Curatorial. I did a proposal. I did a group of artists. I did, a seance. I want these artists and everything.
You did a seance?
It was called Seance.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Did you do a seance in the gallery? Was there a seance performance?
But I wish we could. I wish it could have done that. That would have been great if I would have thought. But it was a hard time too, because when the first time I curated, there was a great opening. Matt told me that it was the largest opening that he had ever had at his gallery. The reason why, because they didn't have it like a measurement and stuff, because they went through like four big, like 4 or 5 different jugs of sangria, and normally they go through maybe 1 or 2, but they did 4, and that was how
that was the metric.
That was the metric in which he determined that was the largest opening.
I'm sorry to tell you, it was actually me. I was there. It's the same number of people. It was just me.
Yes, it was just you.
I drank 3 things of sangria.
Yeah, 4 big things.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. And then so like, why do you think the show was so successful? Just like because I mean that's not you now, where everybody knows you. Like
actually, people actually knew me. A lot of people knew me back then too.
How many? So you've been curating. You've been going to the shows for 20 years. How long have you been doing the curation?
About 10 years.
10 years. Okay,
yes.
So then that's why you were already very well.
I was already known because I would go to the Claremont Graduate University MFA exhibitions. Their thesis exhibitions. So I would go. And I made a lot of friends and a lot of people. So people already knew me. The faculty already knew me. And so I was already going to open studios at USC and UCLA and CalArts. So I would meet artists there. And so they would start to know me as well there too. And then I started blogging and I started interviewing artists.
We're kindred spirits, man.
Yeah.
I didn't know that you interviewed people.
Yeah,
too.
I started interviewing people on my blog, and so one of the first artists I interviewed was Alexandra Grant.
Oh, okay.
And so
I want to have her on.
Yeah. Oh, she would be great.
Yeah.
Oh, she would have so much. She'd have so much to talk about and stuff.
Oh, okay, great.
Especially
great.
about her boyfriend, wink, wink. You know who her boyfriend is?
I don't know.
It's John Wick.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I don't want to start it, but
no. Yeah.
It is in the papers and is public, so
No. Yeah.
But
no,
yeah,
that's chisme. No, but I mean, I appreciate you. I mean, I appreciate you making the connection for me because I know Alexandra Grant as an artist, and then I also know that John Wick or that Keanu Reeves is dating a painter. I just hadn't made that connection, so I'm like, oh yeah, I like John Wick a lot more now.
Yeah, I do too. Great guy.
Yeah.
Very nice guy. But
I mean, he kills people over dogs, but I mean, who doesn't?
Yes, exactly.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's the other thing you forget. Like, we are in Los Angeles, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that's pretty crazy. Well then, okay, can we get into like your all-time greatest? Or like artists that you just like, are that make you feel something that you can't like live without, like you're like your desert island.
That is a hard question.
Well, no, I mean just things, just people that have inspired you like to get into this, like
well, first of all, Matt Gleason.
Matt
Gleason has inspired me a lot to pursue art. Pursue curating. He was the one that really got me into focusing on and doing it the right way, because when I started curating, but the first time I curated was a complete and abject failure. And
wait, so the show? Wait, no, but you told us about the show that had
it's Seance, and that was the good. That was the good one. That was the first good one. Okay.
Oh, okay, so you weren't counting the first one.
Yeah, the first one was called The Invisible Show, and it was. I had a friend of mine. She was really, really enthusiastic. Sometimes a little bit overly enthusiastic, and she she says, "Oh, I know this guy. He's the grandfather of some really big Hollywood director and actor, and he has a warehouse in Chinatown, and he wants to start doing exhibitions and everything like that. And so let's do it." I'm like, "Okay." So I started getting together all these artists. I had a big email list and everything like that. Started emailing artists, and I showed to the theme and everything like that. It was called the Invisible Show, and so art dealing with the idea of invisibility. Well, she just got like really. First of all, the place was a huge warehouse, so I'm like, okay, I can definitely have some fun with this. But she's like, okay, we'll get food trucks, we'll get live food, live painting, we'll have games, we'll have booths, we'll have this. I'm like, shit, man. I mean, how much is this gonna cost? And then the guy, he had a wife and a partner that were really, really greedy. I mean, they were just like, they're, I, we kind of had an agreement that we were going to do the show and everything like that. Like the next day, I get this call from his partner, and I forgot this partner, but he's like, "Dude, I'm here up in the mountain, and I'm like, I'm looking above, and I'm looking at everything, and I realize, and so and so's wife agrees with me. We got to make some money off this man because famous directors and movie studios use our warehouse, and they pay us $5,000 an hour, and we need to
Wow.
make money off this." I'm like, your boss came to me and wanted me to do the show, and now you're coming to me. He's like, "Yeah, we need to make at least $10,000 or $20,000."
Have you ever made that much on a show? Now I'm curious.
I've made zero amount of money on the show, and the fact that he wanted me to pay for the show, that's normally how it doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so finally the next day I just said, and I had a nice professional, basically a nice professional fuck off email saying this is not going to work out and stuff. Have a good day. And that was about it. That was my first attempt at curating a show. Was the Invisible Show.
Oh man, I'm sorry it went that way. That's crazy though.
Yeah.
Dude, that is insane. Like 10 grand off of
Yeah.
a show?
Yeah. Well,
Like-
he got this inspiration from looking down at the mountain that he wanted to make all this money. I'm like, kind of idiot
Yeah.
looks down at the mountain. He was up in Big Bear and he was looking down at the mountain and stuff. I guess at the little people and all the money that he can make off me and stuff like that. I'm like,
That's weird.
yeah.
That's so crazy. I'm glad I haven't come up against anything like that, but I've pretty much only been in the small money world so
Yeah,
far.
I've been in the no money world. So.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not that I'm like in the big money world. I'm just saying that like I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't really interact with people that have those kinds of expectations on an event. That is
Yeah.
insane. Like,
And
were they gonna? How were they gonna make it? Like, what was he? He wanted to make the money off of art sales, off of alcohol. I don't even know.
Both. And
okay.
Yeah, he wanted a percentage of the sales, which there's no guarantee that any art will sell.
But he wanted you to pay up front.
Yeah, he wanted me to pay the $10,000, $20,000 up front. And then my friend, I was like, how are we going to pay for all the
Food trucks.
for all the food trucks and the live painting and everything and all that stuff and all the street art and everything like that? And she's like, I don't know. Well, you might want to think about how we're.
Well, it seems like you were destined to do this because you knew this was not like even in the
Yeah.
first time out, it was not.
Yes, but Mac Gleason is one of the people that inspires me. Who else? Jerry Saltz. I love Jerry Saltz.
Okay.
Jerry Saltz is amazing. He's a great guy. I've met him a couple times, and believe it or not, it's kind of a weird thing. Back in, I think it was either 2015 or 2017. It was 2017. I went to New York for the Whitney Biennial.
Oh,
And it
wow.
was the first biennial that I did a review for Art and Cake for.
Oh wow.
And so I did
You're
it.
like legit, dude.
And-
this is how I think of myself. That fact that I know you means that you can't be that famous, but you're doing pretty good for
Yeah.
yourself.
Actually, I take that back. It was 2015.
2015?
It was 2015, and I was at an opening at this gallery called Canada,
Uh-huh.
and it was the opening for Jason Fox, who's an artist I think that's represented by David Kordansky.
Okay.
So they represent them in New York. So I was at the opening, and I approached Jerry. Jerry was there, and I said, "My name is Mario Vasquez. I'm a huge admirer of your work and everything like that." He's like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of you."
Oh wow, that's
Like,
pretty nice.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had never met Jerry Saltz. I never heard of but apparently
That's
he
also
had,
pretty. That's also really cool of him. Like
Yeah.
he didn't have to do that.
he did not have to do that. He did not have to
Yeah.
tell me anything. He could have just told me to fuck off for all
Yeah.
for all purposes. But he said he'd heard of me.
That's
He'd heard-
awesome.
I was just like I was just floored. I was like, oh, thank you, and we talked for a while and everything. And so yeah, Jerry Saltz is one of these people that I admire greatly. Christopher Knight, I've always admired his art criticism. I've been reading his work since I was a kid,
Mhm.
since I was in my 20s, or even before that. And really got me into looking at art. So
Wow.
yeah, so those are like the three big ones.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then, but I mean, in terms of like movements and
God.
and stuff like that, like you like the Baroque. What else?
Well, you know what? Believe it or not, I liked the Baroque and I liked the Rococo for the longest time until I really started getting into modern and contemporary art. And one of the people that got me into modern and contemporary art was Amelia Jones.
Oh, okay.
And Amelia Jones is a professor right now at USC.
Mhm.
Back when I went, she was also a professor at UC Riverside, and my upper division course in in contemporary art was taught by her,
Mhm.
and I loved it. She just really got me into it, and really got me into contemporary art. And so I started going to MoCA for the first time. I started going to LACMA. I went to the Lannan Foundation, and it was the first time I ever saw the work of Gary Simmons,
Oh
who
wow.
right now has a solo show at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Chicago. And I saw his eraser drawings, and I was just blown away and just completely inspired by the depth and the intellect and the real intelligence of his work. So it just flowered from there.
Mhm.
So that's what really got me into contemporary art, because my art prior to taking Amelia Jones's course was quite conservative. I did not like modern art at all. I was very
Wow.
much into the Renaissance and Baroque, and I wouldn't even go into the contemporary or modern art sections of LACMA or anything like
Wow.
that. I was very much into the Spanish and the Dutch and the Italians and the French prior to like 1800 or so. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then what, like, okay, for artists that are maybe listening to this, how would you like? Because I'm somewhat versed in like what are the big five galleries? Are you well, like, do you know the art world as a whole? That probably I feel like you might more than me,
Yeah.
because I'm mostly not
Like
keeping up.
5 art galleries.
The the big five, so it would be like Hauser and Wirth,
Hauser and Wirth, yes, Hauser and Wirth. David Zwerner,
Zwerner.
Blum and Poe.
Okay.
Um,
Blum and Poe's International?
yeah,
Oh,
they're
okay.
they're in
Wh-
Seoul. They're in
Oh,
Seoul and
okay.
New York. Um, David Kordansky, they're
Mhm.
in New York as well too.
Yeah.
Regan Projects,
Really?
I would put them up there. Yeah.
So then these are the galleries that show the artists that end up being also shown in museums, right?
Yes. But also I would add there's a number of galleries that are really emerging and are actually showing their strength as well too. I put Night Gallery.
Yeah.
Would
you consider-
Nicodeme, Suzanne Villemetter?
Are they? Would you say that those are on the same level as the? I mean, and I don't mean
as like the big
as the Hauser and Wirth. I'm
They're-
not. I don't mean that in
Yeah.
any negative way. I don't want to
Yeah.
offend the galleries. I'm trying to get a lay of the land because I feel like you have this information.
you know what? It's hard to say. I mean, they don't have like the kind of presence like a David Zwirner or Hauser or Jeffrey Deitch.
Because I know that Hauser and Wirth, or I've heard that the Hauser and Wirth here in LA doesn't make money. Like it functions at a loss. Is my understanding.
Yeah, I don't know anything about I haven't heard anything about the financial aspects of the
But
galleries.
there's just so much of a benefit. I mean, or whatever. It's not as it might not be like functioning
Yeah.
at a loss because obviously they have Mark Bradford and they have pretty big artists. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is that like it's not their big bread and butter is what is my understanding. I
Yeah.
don't want to say who I heard this from.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I
but
hear you.
but it's interesting even like that on a business level, like that a gallery. The reason that I ask is Night Gallery on the same level is that like like Night Gallery's awesome. It's one of my favorite places, and
Yeah, same here.
Nicodeme and all the spots that you mentioned. Though
Yeah.
I would say that they're like aspirationally high tier.
Yeah.
But then, are they showing the same kind of people that Hauser and Wirth is, or are they showing more? Like, is it a more of an emerging crowd?
I think it's a little bit of both.
Okay, so they
You
do
know,
have access to
yeah.
the big heavy hitter artists.
Yeah, I'd say they do. These galleries do. I know Vilmeter just showed Rob Pruitt,
Mhm.
who's an amazing African American black artist. He's definitely hot. They have they also have, oh God, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but all I know is that these artists are also showing in museums and all over the world, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they're and in collections as well too. So I would say, you can it's hard to say what the top five are because there's each gallery has their own strength, and each gallery has their own way of presenting itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of it's a tough call, and the LA has such a rich gallery scene now, but I think there is I think we've lost some things in the last 20 years that I don't think that the galleries coming from New York over here, or the galleries from here going to New York, I think we've lost a few things. I think we've lost a little bit of the idea of experimentation and bit freedom.
Mhm.
If you ever went to the openings on Chungking Road circa 2005 or so, those were they were doing performances, and they were doing art out in the streets,
Yeah, yeah.
and they were bold and daring, and that, I think, we're losing that kind of daring and boldness that defined the LA art scene in the 1990s and into the 2000s.
Mhm.
And I think that's my big fear about the growth of the LA art scene, as far as the galleries and the big international names coming into LA, is that we're losing that kind of gusto and sense of experimentation.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, especially because I moved here around like 2003. No, around 2008, which at that point people were already talking about how Chungking Road was like kind of dying out a little bit.
It just died all of a sudden.
Yeah,
It
and
just,
then it became when I moved here was Culver City.
yes.
Is it still bumping like that? Because they have Blum and Poe still, right?
Yes, Blum and Poe, and then maybe a few more galleries, but they don't have the kind of gallery scene that they had in Culver City.
Yeah, yeah.
Culver City is definitely
LAX.
died out. LAX is gone.
Yeah.
Philip Martin, or it used to be Cherry and Martin, but Philip Martin moved to Gliselle Park.
Yeah.
So they're not there anymore.
I mean, I used to live there, and I got gentrified out of there. My rent as a resident went up $300 in
Yeah.
1 month. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, it got, the galleries that were once part of that whole Culver City scene just got
They built the blue line to the beach, and it just made it unsustainable. Because
yeah,
back when I moved in,
yeah.
it was sort of the baddish neighborhood that was
Mhm.
kind of coming up. Like,
Yeah.
it hadn't
Mhm.
quite gotten there. As soon as that train,
Yeah.
I was so naive. I was coming from Miami, so there's nothing, no gentrification on the same scale.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be now, but I was like, oh my God, we're gonna have this train. I was so excited, and I was like, oh no, it's not for me.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. It seems that that train, whether it be the yellow line or the blue line or any of these lines and stuff, actually destroyed. It destroyed Bergamot Station,
Yeah.
and it probably destroyed Culver City too. And so that whatever they were hoping that it would become was obliterated by that whole by the, like you said, gentrification and the rents going up, as well as the idea of what they call Silicon Beach,
Yeah.
where a lot of tech firms were moving in as well too. So that also
Especially
increased
in Playa del Rey.
Playa del Rey, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean,
I was
Bergamot,
a West Sider, guys.
yeah.
I have not been in ages. I haven't been to Culver City. In fact, I'm gonna
Yeah.
go. I'm gonna go meet somebody out there, pretty soon to Delicious Pizza in West Adams.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a good place.
Yeah, it's been
Yes.
so long.
Yeah.
Like, and the Culver Hotel's kind of cool too.
Yeah.
I used to live right there and walk around. It was nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the nice thing was that I could just walk to the, or it wasn't that far of a drive, and I would go have drinks at the Mandrake.
Mm-hmm.
Would just drop in LA.
Yes, that is an institution in
Yeah,
LA and
yeah.
stuff. The Mandrake,
Yeah.
absolutely. But the Culver City died. China Art Objects, which went from Chinatown to Culver City, and then they closed. And
Oh
unfortunately,
yeah, that's right. I remember
Yeah.
them.
yeah, and so now so there's I think the only big gallery is Blum and Poe. Honor Fraser is still there, and that's it. Those are the, and then there's that one gallery on right next door to Honor Fraser, and unfortunately I cannot remember the name off the top of my head, but he's been there for a long time. He took the old Lax space as well too.
Oh, that was a good space.
Yes.
There was, I mean, those that was like a pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, I moved specifically to Culver City because I knew that
Yeah.
that was like happening, and it's so sad that. Is there anything like is the closest thing the Night Gallery,
Francois Gabali.
Francois Gabali and Nicodeme? Is that like the closest, like most efficient way of seeing like one stop shop? Because then there's Cirrus is there too, right?
Yeah. Actually, the area to go to is Hollywood.
Hollywood still.
Yes.
So
So you have Jeffrey Deitch, then you have up the street is Lisson.
Okay.
Then you have Jeffrey Deitch 2. You have Regan Projects is right up there. Tanya Banaktar. Then you also have Very Small Fires. Diane Rosenstein. You're going to have Marion Goodman coming in. You have Cone Gallery. Sean Kelly. You have within maybe 4 or 5 blocks in that area. Oh, let's not forget The Hole.
The whole, yeah.
The Hole. I love The Hole. It's such a they have such eclectic and terrific art. Kathy Grayson does an excellent job, and Birdie. I love Birdie. Birdie is Kathy's dog. His little Pomeranian.
Oh,
And
Pomeranians are
he's-
just
he's-
uncontrollably
he's-
cute.
He's such a ham, and he basically takes over.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, The Hole. I used to love going to The Hole when I went to New York, and because it's right down the street from the new museum, and I go to The Hole, and I'm like, wow, every show I go is out of the park. I mean, such really really great painters and such eclectic works. and then they opened a space here, and I've not looked back since. It's just such a great space and great gallery. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. Anything that I haven't really asked you about that you want to get out? Because I mean, I can keep.
Oh, it's
I'm
like we can. I didn't think this was going to last an hour, but we have been over.
Yeah, we've been a little over an hour. I don't know exactly how long it is, but what's it called? Yeah, I mean, I love talking to you. I kind of also feel like this is like, if I let you out the door, it's my last chance to like pick your brain, which is not true. But like, but what, like, in fact, what you just gave me about like you have information inside your brain that is really like pertinent to people that don't do the research that you do daily of like knowing what shows are up.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, you already named more galleries in this episode than I know. You know, I mean, I know of Region and I know of like Jeffrey Dyke and all of that, but
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever even been there. You know?
Yeah, Jeffrey, you've never been to Jeffrey Deitch?
No.
Oh wow, yeah, you got that whole. It's Santa Monica Boulevard in Highland,
Okay.
and then there's a couple blocks. There's Steve Turner right nearby too.
No, that sounds amazing. Yeah.
That whole area, you can spend a good day going exploring galleries and going gallery hopping in that one area. And Lisson just moved there a few months ago, and they had an excellent show by Carmen Herrera, Brazilian abstract sculptor. And then right now, unfortunately, I can't name off the top of my head, but I think they may have just closed. So now they're just all the galleries right now are pretty much closed right now, and they're just preparing for the next for the gallery season to start in a couple weeks.
What's the season?
Ooh, season the season starts at the beginning of September.
Okay.
So
And then, because the summer is just kind of like no one wants to leave.
yeah,
no one wants to be in.
everyone's at the art fairs or everyone's on vacation. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a time for when the galleries decide that they're gonna go on vacation, go on hiatus. That's why you get a lot of group shows.
Yeah.
Summer group shows happen beginning in June, July, and August. They have certain events, but they're not a part of their program. And then all of a sudden, boom, September comes, and that's when they start.
And then it dies down around what?
About
Spring?
June. About June. Yeah.
June. Okay.
Yeah, so it basically goes from September to middle of June, and then it's just on there. Then that's when things start slowing down.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, I this has been a delight. I really, I feel like you are a resource, and I hope that doesn't make you
like
make
a
you
real
feel
encyclopedia.
yeah, like, I mean, you're a person, but you're also very, very knowledgeable. It's like, I mean, I'm just gonna every time I see you now, I'm gonna ask you stuff. I'm gonna try to like have questions for you
Yeah.
because I think that I mean, I feel like I honestly have a clearer picture of like the LA art scene, and I've been at it for like not 10 years or not 20 years, but at you know, like in the 10-year range.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to believe that it was like, oh my god,
It's also hard to believe we're that old. Fuck.
Yeah, that too. Yes, that too.
Because like you've lived it, but you can't you know.
Yeah, it seems like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it was very very long ago.
This is my favorite trip is like trying to remember what it was actually like in the 90s, not like the nostalgia of the 90s, but just like actually like what the experience of living in the 90s was like. And like I don't know. Anyway, and so Mario's Art World at Mario's Art World on Instagram.
Yep.
Your blog?
I blog, and it's mariosartworld.blogspot.com.
Okay, and then anything else that we can promote for you, except for the show, which I will be there.
September 12th.
Yeah, so this Tuesday. Today's Sunday. Tuesday.
LA Mission College, from 5 to 9 o'clock. So if you leave LA at 7, you'll get there like by 7:30, and then you can enjoy the show, enjoy the food, and they're gonna have a DJ, and it's gonna be a It's gonna be a nice party.
Yeah. No, and I know I know one of the artists, and I know you have great taste because I see your show, so or your thing, your Instagram. So I'm definitely excited to see it, and it's gonna be nice to see Emily because I haven't seen her.
Yeah.
She gave me a huge bump.
Yeah,
The show's doing. She gave me a huge bump, and I want to thank her in person and be like, "Thank you for your episode."
Yeah.
And like, she is a very generous person too. So, yeah. Well, thank you so much.
You're
and
welcome.
then,
It's my pleasure.
oh, dude, I know the pleasure's all on this side. Welcome. I'm reintroducing the show. Welcome to What's My Thesis. No, we'll be back next week with another guest and another topic that may or may not be art related. All right.